All good? You want to put the first page, please? Can you put the first page of the presentation? How easy? Okay, so hi everyone. So my name is Quentin. So just a little bit about my journey in crypto. I first invested in crypto in 2016, a while back when Ethereum was €5. And I saw my portfolio grow in 1 year. I saw a big number, didn't sold, watch it crash 90%, 95%. So I thought, okay, I have just one goal now, is just to try to buy as low as possible for the next cycle. So I can learn this cycle at the moment. And so then for the past 3 years, I've just been waiting for the next stop to finally realize those gains. This year in spring, we saw also a local top, and still I didn't manage to take any profit, and I still saw my portfolio like divide by 3, and I was very pissed off. So this time I thought, okay, you know what? I will just try to learn from the data, learn more about on-chain analytics, and get some really concrete insight about the market, and have a real tool to try to time the next stop. So
we're just going to pull it up here. Here. All right.
Thank you. Yeah, all good. So there is one tool in crypto. We are very lucky that we have the blockchain in which we can just withdraw a lot of data and get some insight from it. And so the tool is called on-chain analytics. And to analyze on-chain analytics, there is some companies like Glassnode that gives you a lot of insights and charts that helps you to understand a lot of component of the market. So basically, I just started to learn about it like 3 months ago. So what I will give you today is like kind of a first version of what I've learned, which data we can see in the macros, something not too specific, but just some great numbers that can help us to really time the top. And I will be able to give you this presentation. And in the future, I'd like to make it more precise with like more tools to be able to time the top so we can share all these information. So what I will show you today will be in 5 steps. The first one will be how to understand the cycle. Then how to anticipate the top coming. Third, how to really try to time the top. Fourth, the data that we saw from 4 previous tops. So Bitcoin in 2013, 2017, Ethereum in 2017, and the top we saw of Ethereum this year. That's not kind of a market top, but the data are showing like a top like we could have seen before. And 5, what could be my exit strategy, which is something that will evolve probably in the next week. So I will keep you updated about this.
And to that effect, this is a little addition to it. You know, we think of the tops as like the 2017 top, and then the
13.
Okay, we go by the 2017 top, and then we go by like the 2014 top, right? The 2014 technically had 2 tops, the 2013 and the 2014 top. So when we're talking about tops, there might be more than just the top. And these data will be able to show you those actual tops.
Actually, the end of the cycle. So to complete what you're saying, so here there was something like 8 months between the 2 tops of 2013. Then we had 4 years to come back here in 2017. And now we are ending the 4th year. So this is the local top we saw this spring. And now we are expecting then the second leg of this bull cycle, trying to maybe have something like the 2013 top. So that's what we could expect in terms of time and prices and shape of the curve, I would say. So first off, Sim, if you want just to recap your view on the market psychology.
Yeah, so you know, when you're thinking about making decisions, the first piece of data you should look at is you. You're one of the biggest indicators there is out there. And then if you have a bunch of other people around you who you're seeing go through this whole process, that's a huge indicator for you, because we're the market. There is nobody else, you know? It's in this whole thing is just happening in our own minds. It actually doesn't exist. So when you understand what's going on in our minds, and then you have an indicator from you, and then you have some data from the people around you. And the good thing in Bali is, we have a lot of crypto heads that we're like living, this is like, Bali Valley, the Silicon Valley of crypto, basically. So understanding your own psychology and people around you will really help you. So that's where this whole, anybody who's been here for a while has seen this. The Wall Street cheat sheet or the Bitcoin psychology chart, you can Google that, will give you a really good understanding of where we are in this cycle. So like, for example, let's talk about this year. Beginning of this year, many people weren't involved. They were just kind of watching. They were in a state of fear because they're like, I don't know where this thing's going to go, so I'm not really going to like get involved. So you're in a state of fear. So you're technically in a state of disbelief on this chart. You're in a state of disbelief, but just the chart, is basically prices are flat. Everybody's in disbelief. Next thing that happened is prices started to go up. We went from the 10K up to 60K. So everybody started to kind of get FOMO, fear of missing out. And we came up. And as soon as you feel that people are going into FOMO, my estimation is always, okay, I'm too late. If everybody else is in FOMO, I should be thinking about getting out, if anything. Or I've missed this boat. Let me go to the ones where people don't have FOMO and buy it before they get the FOMO. Let me, front run the FOMO. Now we've gone through a dip, and that's basically like right here, and the first disbelief phase, or like right here, where it goes up, we go into a little bit of hope after the FOMO, because everybody's FOMO'd in, and they're like, now I'm gonna get rich, I have some hope. Then it drops, puts people back into a state of fear, and that's what we went through the last few months. Everybody was like, this is the end, this must be the end, and everybody's in a state of fear. At that moment, when everybody's fearful, is the moment I'm like really happy. Like, do I have any stables I can put into this? Can I jump in? So you're already starting to see these indicators. Everybody else is fearful, I'm not fearful. Everybody else is in FOMO, everybody else is running in, I'm running out. And now we're going to go through the next cycle where we're now getting back to the hope stage, and we're getting even higher than that. We're getting into the optimism stage actually right now. So if you're sitting on some profits, definitely start thinking about the process of locking in those profits, because you don't make that money until you actually lock it in. Now we're going to go, it's probably going to be another dip where people feel the feeling of fear again. And then after that, once people have been through a few dips, then we'll go into the belief and the thrill and all that stuff. So that's a great set of analytics for you to have, is the market itself and people's psychology. Now, a black swan event is probably going to happen, most likely going to happen. Who knows what's actually going to happen? When that event happens, everybody goes back into a state of fear. So always keep this broad view in perspective when you're then going into the data and making the decisions within the data.
Sorry, are we still where we are? Where are we right now with the little red arrows?
As in my approximation.
Yeah.
From what the charts look like, it could be here.
Yeah, and like psychologically speaking, we're somewhere around there.
I think so.
So to rebound on what you're saying, so basically there is many ways to try to time it up and to try to just max out your profits. So the strategy I will give you today is mine. It's pretty risky because I really try to time very well the top, like 20% from the top. But there is other strategies like SIM as another one more based on psychology, where I will, for example, try to start to come out of the market around here, while I will more target this side.
Yeah, I'll be exiting from the optimism stage all the way up to the euphoria stage. DCAing out.
Because I'll show you that you will see that there is a period from the top. The last 20% of the top, on average, is just 9 days. So that's very tricky, because you will see on some tools that there is around these 9 days, there is another tool, which is the grid part, which can last up to 53 days. And in these 53 days, you will triple your money or just miss the top.
That's why you get so greedy.
Yeah. So when you said that you said when everybody FOMO, yes, but you need tools to be patient and sell at the right moment.
Now 20% from the top, starting to get out.
So what I will show you now is the data I found in the on-chain to try to time those last 20%. That's risky, that's complicated, but I think with the on-chain analytics, we must be able to sell at least in the last 30%. So first, just talk about the cycle. The first step is how to understand the cycle. So we said it's a 4-year cycles, and there is some ratios that just help you to, in a big picture, just time where we are. So what we saw with Bitcoin in the last 10 years is that there is what we call the golden ratio, which gives you a time from where we should expect a top. So what we saw in the last two cycles, is that we had almost exactly the same time from the bottom to the halving than from the halving to the top. So if we use that same ratio, that puts us in 27th of September this year for a top. For Bitcoin. Knowing that in the previous tops, Ethereum topped like around 28 to 30 days after Bitcoin, which can change this cycle.
Yeah, anything that you hear here can change this cycle.
Yeah.
This is not saying that it will by this.
Everything I'm giving you now is just the study of the previous data, knowing that anything can change. But I would prefer to stick on what happened in the past to predict the future. So another method that we could use to try to time the next stop is this ratio. If you look here in this chart, the time you'll have from a top, from all-time high to when we find again this all-time high gives you a period, and between that moment and the top, previously we had 291 days, 287 days. If we keep this ratio, it will give us 303 days after when we recover the 20K for Bitcoin. That puts us in March next year. That could be a good date also because it will match when ETH 2.0 come out, when many coins are released, and when there is a big sell-off because people want to take profits. That could match, that could make sense. Talking about if we are in bear, bull cycle, or accumulation, there is a big picture that you can follow also is when you compare the market cap of Bitcoin and the realized cap here. So in those charts, it can show you very easily when it's time to buy. So you see those green boxes here. It's when the market cap is below the realized cap, meaning people lose money with that Bitcoin because they sell at loss mostly. That's the perfect time to buy in a big picture. And we have another index here. So this chart shows from the halving what the chart of Bitcoin looks like. That's 2013 in blue, 2017 in green, and in black, it's the current cycle. So it just gives you also a time perspective, and that chart shows that also we could have a top in March next year. So if we take those dates, in the next chart, I will show you the rainbow chart according to the bigger cycle. What could be the price? So that's a simple tool that we could use for approximate price prediction. So that's just a ratio that we've been following in the last cycles that was accurate. And just this tool tells you that if we peak in the end of September, we could see a Bitcoin around 160,000. And if it's in March next year, that would be at least 200,000.
And sorry, for the newbies, do you see a chart pattern here? Yeah. It's perfect, right? You can just get in and go to sleep for years, and the money's not going anywhere. Your dollars, the chart pattern looks like this. You're losing 30% dollars every year. Crypto has never, not crypto, Bitcoin and the solid blue chip cryptos have never failed. It's actually
Trajectory's always up with dips, but it's consistent.
Yeah, this is a logarithmic scale. So this is exponential scale. So it goes from cents to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 to million to 10 million as it curves upwards. Don't forget that.
So simple, you buy when it's in the blue side, you sell when it's in the red side. So that's still something pretty wide and not very precise. And talking about price prediction, so that's just all guess. You will hear the experts saying totally different things. Like the YouTubers are currently believing that we will see a top in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That the Bitcoin halving will still create this supply shock every 4 years, so we will keep these cycles. But after this cycle, maybe we could lose that 4-year cycle. Willy Woo, so Willy Woo is the #1 expert on chain analytics, says also that he believes that the 4-year cycle is already over. And so Raoul Pal, which is a pretty big CEO and hedge fund manager, who purchased like 100 millions of or billion of bitcoins recently. He believes that Ethereum is mirroring the Bitcoin cycle of 2017, so that he believes that basically if we follow that adoption based on what we call the Metcalfe's law, and it's the network effect, so that's how exponential the technology is adopted by its network, it will put Ethereum at 20K like Bitcoin did in the last cycle. And he believes that that will be in March 2022 when ETH 2.0 is released. I believe that could be the top. So that is just all guess and predictions.
But if you think about it, all these cryptocurrencies, especially the solid ones, are based on Metcalfe's law. They're not companies that you value according to how much product they put out. They are networks that are growing, and their value is tied to the exponential. It grows exponentially with how many users get added to the network. So all of them follow all of them follow almost the same curve in some variants.
Yeah, and
so if you're buying crypto right now and you're super risky and you're buying like your Shiba coins, they're down here. That's why people are making stupid amounts of money on them, even though if you're buying Shiba coins, I need you to exit this room right away.
You need the mic? Ah, okay.
But so you choose, are you taking the risk of being down here in the risk curve, which is the exponential part where 100x and 1000x are made pretty quickly, but you could lose your money? Or are you in this middle part, or are you then up here? Now, in all of this, yeah, you could, if you're buying in the blue and selling in the red, or even in the before it gets like proper dark, that's a great way of doing it. But you have to always think about all of these cryptos on this curve. Like what I do is I buy some that are up here, some that are in the middle, and some that are all the way down at the beginning part of their growth curve. But they will all follow that curve because there is a law called Metcalfe's law that they're following. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is conjecture, but it makes sense when he's using Metcalfe's law. When Raoul Pal is using Metcalfe's law to say this, that's a great piece of data to have.
Yeah, and also what he says is that the curve of Bitcoin is the adoption is faster than the internet. The adoption of Ethereum is faster than Bitcoin, and the adoption of Solana is faster than Ethereum. So basically, the best buy will be soon Solana when it corrects enough back to around $75–80. So that's nice. That's an easy tool to anticipate up, but it's just guess. So with only this tool, that would not be enough to really time accurately a top.
And this is on the year scale, so it's a little broad.
Yes, and also something to really consider is what does the top look like? Because we all have a major problem is that we all always look on a micro picture, the charts. So we all look at best at this scale. So that it's 3 months. Okay, so when you look on the 3-month picture, a top looks pretty flat. But when you zoom out and you look on a 1–2 years picture, that's what a top looks like. In the blue frame, it's the same picture as this one. So if you looked at Solana those past days with this zoom, you will not understand that we are reaching a local top. But if you zoom out, you will see Solana like this, and you will understand, okay, well, time to sell Solana for Ethereum and just wait for it to correct and to rebuy it later. So I will stay broad. I will not go too much into details, just to make it the most simple as possible. So still in the way to anticipate a top, we could just try to see what the miners are doing, because miners are a big part of the holdings of Bitcoins and other tokens. So on on-chain analytics, we finally have some data that show us what are the miners doing. They are not, how can I say, not very explicit on what they are doing, because as you can see, if you look this chart, for example, so that's just the balance in the miner's wallet. In the bigger scale, you will see just the way down, but nothing showing you like a dip that make you understand there is a top, except in situations like we had this spring when miners were banned from China. You see a big dip, and you can understand that soon there will be a major correction. So in the on-chains, there is also this graph that shows the volume of token that the miners send to exchanges, so to sell them. That could be also an indicator, because as you can see, before a top, you have an increase volume of tokens sent to exchanges, so you can kind of anticipate. I think it's on average it's 3 months before a top that you see the big portion of Bitcoin being sent by the miners to exchanges. There is one graph that is very useful concerning the miners. It's called the Pull multiple. So this graph is showing to you if the miners are in profit or in losses. And as you can see, every top is marked straight by a spike, and also every bottom. So when you're in the green zone, it's time to buy. When you are in the red zone, it's time to time the top and try to sell at the right moment. We will look just closer to this chart later. You will see that there is not one number in this chart that helps you to understand this top, but once the top is passed, you will see in the next days a big decrease in that indicator, which kind of show you that the top is passed. Another way to anticipate a top is to watch what the whales are doing. So again, this is pretty subjective. It's not very accurate, mostly for Ethereum, but for Bitcoin, it has shown some great insights. If you look, so that's the chart for the whales that own from 1K to 10K Bitcoin, and that's from 10K to 100K Bitcoins. So you see here we have the 2013 cycle. 2 months before the top, the whales were dumping. 2017, 4 months before the top, the whales were dumping. The bigger whales, 6 months before the top, they were dumping in 2013. And 2017, they started to sell a year before.
So think about this. I have 100,000 Bitcoin. 100,000 Bitcoin. That means I have billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. I need millions of suckers to sell it to. It takes me a year. You know, if I have 10,000 Bitcoin, it's going to take me 6 months to find enough suckers who will buy it at this crazy price. If I have less, it takes me a little bit less. So you can have this viewpoint of like, you know, when the 10,000 people start to dump, they already started to see a top a year down the road or some longer period down the road. The smaller guys will come in, or the small guys, 10,000 Bitcoin, tiny little whales will start to sell some period ahead of time. When you start to see, no one of these signals will tell you that this is the end. So now imagine this, okay? So he just said, Bitcoin tends to top a month before altcoins, about a month before altcoins.
Yeah.
Because the money flows into Bitcoin and then flows down into the altcoins, okay? Okay, great. The 100K whales start to sell a year ahead of time. 10K whales start to sell 6 months ahead of time. So if the 100K whales sell, and then the 10K whales sell, and then the 1K whales sell, and then I see Bitcoin create a blow off top, I have 4 indicators building me a story that this is the end. And I'm the guy sitting on the altcoin ship a month later. So you almost have like 6 months to a year lead time in making your decisions. Now, nobody's saying you're calling it the top. If you're trying to call it the top, literally, you're missing the point. He said he's going to top 20% close to the top. I'm going 30% close to the top. But all of these indicators, just these indicators put together, give you a great story as to what they're doing, right? So build a mental model in your mind of how you're viewing this data.
Yeah, and so we have the same data about Ethereum, but as you can see, Ethereum doesn't help you to predict anything until now. Maybe for the next stop, because I guess that in 2017 it was too young, not understood yet by the whales, so they missed it. They didn't manage to sell at the right moment. And whales at that moment were anybody.
This was us.
Yeah.
This is how we react. When the top happens, for months later, we're still buying into that pressure. The retail people. Okay, this is what we look like. This is what the smart money looks like. Plebs.
So for the smaller whales and the bigger whales in Ethereum, same thing in 2017, but my guess is that now they had diamond hands and just they didn't sold because they saw the exponential growth that was coming for Ethereum and just they kept it.
But when you zoom in and you see when the whales entered, the whales actually sold into this buying pressure here. In the most recent one, the whales are here. This is whale type movement where the price is going up and the whales are selling into it. That's why it took 3 months for the price to kind of stabilize and for them to offload all of this onto plebs. Thank you. What does that term mean? Plebetarians, normal people, us.
Okay, so now we move to the second part, which is, the third part, how to try to time the top thanks to on-chain analytics. So as I repeat, that's data from the previous stops. Doesn't mean it will be as accurate for the next stop. For me, the main tool and the most easy to use is called the NUPOL, the net unrealized profit and losses. So this chart just shows how greedy is the market. And as you can see, as other indicators, it just shows you in blue when it's the top, in red when it's the bottom.
It literally shows you blue is greed.
Yeah.
Green is belief. Yellow is optimism. Orange is hope. And red is capitulation. Those exact psychological. And this is, they didn't ask you how you feel. They just took the amount of profit that's in the market and charted it and then locked it to your emotions because we're that predictable. Yeah. And our emotions drive the whole market. Remember, that's what we started with.
And so there is one global NUPOL, there is one for the long-term holders, and there is one for the short-term holders.
Global, smart money, dumb money.
Yes, exactly. And we will see now why it's called smart money, because, for example, the top we saw previously this year, the long-term holders were showing that we're already in greed and it was time to sell. While the global market was not seeing this, even as the short-term holders. So this is the tool that I will just use to track all of my data. I consider that the top is when we are in the blue part. So I took the data at the beginning of the blue part, at the top, at the end of the blue part. And inside this window, I took the data also outside the 20% window. But if you just have to look to one tool into the on-chain analytics, in my opinion, this one is the easiest one to read. Just one insight that Glassnode just released recently. In the short-term holders, so they just show that the indicator coming back above this trend, this line, it shows a market recovery, and it also can show an impulse for the second leg of this bull run.
So it looks like we're going in a different direction. Smart money and dumb money. Smart money is going down.
So
no, this is slightly older data.
So basically what you will see is that while the long-term holders are already in greed and with a lot of profits, the global market is not yet. So that chart, the global NUPOL, you know that when it's blue, it's time to sell. It's a top. In the long-term holders, you will have a longer period in the blue part, as you can see.
Hold on. Take that with a grain of salt. This entered into blue when it was like 15, or when it was like 11 or something. And then it went up to 20 last time.
Yes, what I will show after.
Just because it hits the blue doesn't mean you sell everything right there. So you definitely go into the selling mood at that time.
That's when you time the top. Yeah. When you enter in the blue, sorry for the mistake, it's when you start to try to time the top thanks to the data that you should.
Yeah, because be careful. People will just be like, oh, when it hits blue.
Yeah, no. What I wanted to say is that the global market will show blue, while the long-term holder will be already for a while in the blue part, while the short-term holders will peak in the green part.
So now think about that. Think about that. Start preparing in the blue.
An exit strategy.
But just think about that. Short-term holders, dumb money. No, it's okay. Short-term holders, dumb money. Short-term holders, dumb money. Long-term holders, smart money.
Hodlers.
Oh, sure, hodlers. But not, you don't just hodl through the whole cycle. But the point is, the shorter you hold, the dumber you're playing with your money. You know, the people with actual money, they know that this game is to be played on the year scale, not to be played on the weeks and month scale.
Yeah, big investors are seeing it right now. They're ready to buy Bitcoin today because they just want to wait 10 years before to resell. Okay. Now, other indicators, just try to see how much the market is in profit. So, a good one, which is very helpful to time an accurate top, is how many % of the supply is in profit. Also, the realized holder ratio. So, how can we expect it? It's like long-term holders that sold at that day.
So when you're looking at market cap, right? You're talking about, we just take all the coins ever and then imagine that somebody sold them all today at today's price. That's the market cap. That's a very useless metric to be looking at to actually know the value of a network. Realized, anytime you see realized, it means the last moment that coin was bought or sold. You know, if I bought this coin like at some time for 20,000 and today it's at 30,000, then I can calculate the actual value of something. If there's a, you know, there's some percentage of the coins that got lost and we're still counting those as value in the network, it doesn't give you a realized, a real perspective on what's actually going on. So realized HODL ratio is literally saying you take the realized cap and the coins were actually moved, and then how many people are holding the coins, hodling the coins that have been moved actively. So it gives you a more realistic viewpoint.
Thank you. Also the chart under the SOPR, so this one shows, it's a ratio showing how much of the market is in profit that day when they sell.
So
yeah,
it's profit.
Yeah,
it's selling it in profit. So if it's above this line, this black line, that means they're selling it in profit. If it's below that line, that means they're selling it at a loss. You know, and think about it. If somebody's selling it at a loss, what do you want to do? I want to buy some. Somebody's selling at a profit, I want to sell some.
And this chart is the same one, but entity is adjusted. So if people hold many addresses, they manage to figure out who it is and give a chart more accurate. So as you can see, those 4 charts, I mean 3 of them at least, you have zones where you know when it's time to buy, time to sell. So in a big scale, that's just also another indicators. But there is also very accurate data from where we enter in the blue part of the NUPL. We will check what are the numbers in those charts. And there is one here that I like to use. It's the percent supply and profit, because as you can see, for a while before the top, we are reaching almost the 100%, like we are around between 95 and 99% of profits. But of course, the 100% profit can be only the top. So you will see that in the last moments, like 99.95% of profit, that's only at that moment that starts the 9 days when you will be in the 20% from the top. So another way to stand the top is to consider how overvalued is Bitcoin. So very simple. In those indicators, when the charts are in the lower part, Bitcoin is really undervalued. Mostly in the green zone, it's time to buy. When it's above, when it's in the red zone, Bitcoin is really overvalued. Same as in the graph before. In that window, when we are in the blue NUPL, there is some numbers also that we can control to know if we are also in these indicators in a moment to sell.
And this present chart, or where are we now? Are we in red or green?
We're
are
closer
here
to the green than we are to the red.
Actually, why we didn't sold, and most of us didn't sold the top recently, because of those indicators. You see, normal top, we are in the red zone, and we just arrived here at the top this year.
We're like right there. Yeah, we're in an actual cycle. We're like right there. Not even right in the middle. We just went so close to the buy zone that, you know, anybody who was looking at this was like, buy the shit out of it. This is like a great buying opportunity. We almost reset back, right? So right now, this is not financial advice, but it's a great time to buy.
So this graph is what we call the reserve risk. Basically, what it shows is like, is it risky or not to buy today? This is what this chart shows.
It actually shows, it graphs out the confidence that the market has compared to the price.
Yeah.
So the lower it is, that means the lower the price and higher the confidence. The higher it is means lower the confidence and higher the price. Okay, because if people are confident and the price is low, you should be confident and then you should buy it. If it's, once it goes into this zone, we're in the, like, confidence is dying and the price is getting way too fucking crazy. And that's what you're watching live.
You would sell then when you hit the red top, or look to plan.
This would be one of the things that I put on the list of things that I would use as the time to sell.
This is a really good indicator, I suppose, of where we are strategy-wise. Say that?
Yeah.
And talking again about the kind of top we saw this year, there were just 2 indicators that were showing that we could be reaching a top. So that was what I showed you before, the long-term holder NUPL. I was showing a blue zone, mostly for Ethereum. It was showing it in the normal NUPL. and in the percent of supply and profit for the long-term holders, I think. This is the only two indicators that were showing that that was a moment to sell, but not a top.
You can access this on Glassnode, or is this a paid chart?
Yeah, it's paid charts. It's $50 monthly for that level. Then for the next level, you will see some charts where we don't have the data for 6 months back because it's 700 monthly.
Yeah, a lot of these charts you've already seen are also part of that bigger package. But that's why we're taking all of that and then bringing it to the platform.
Another model that the influencer, I would say, Plan B built is the stock to flow ratio. So that just follows what should be the fair price of Bitcoin at that date. And so basically you see that if the price, the market cap is above that line, we are overvalued. If we are under, we are undervalued. So what we are seeing currently is that we are still, time-wise, we are undervalued for Bitcoin.
We're highly undervalued. We've never been this undervalued ever.
At that time, yeah. As you can see,
we are so the spring is pushed to a point where it has so much pressure inside that it's telling me that the next thing it's going to do is shoot up. Not today, not tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it needs to reset back beyond this and then shoot way past that, because this is a model that's used for gold, for commodities, for anything, because it's the amount of stock in the market compared to how much money is actually, how much demand there actually is. So the tops are always way above this. We are so far below that the top will have to be this insane parabolic rise.
So based on that first chart, the peaks there, the red arrow, we're due in the imminent future to spike up into the red zone.
This one? Yeah.
Based on the previous, looking at...
Based on, it's all based on human psychology, and humans never fail to behave the same way. You know, so it will spike up into the red.
Yeah.
It just won't look like it's done before. It'll probably look more like something closer to this, where we go close and come back or something. They're going to try to trick us, because we're not the only ones seeing all this stuff. The guys with multi-billion-dollar research teams are watching this too, and they control the market, so they're going to manipulate these things. But you can build a mental picture of all this and then use that to make your own.
So as you can see, we have, to try to time the top, we have some indicators that we can look in parallel, and we know that when most of the indicators are reaching the red zone, okay, we are close to a top. So it's time to really focus on the data and the numbers and follow it closely daily.
And so, sorry, the stock to flow deflection is literally talking about how far are we deflected from where stock to flow says things should be, right? So if we're super deflected downwards, get on the ship. Because what always happens after we're deflected this far away from what the model says we should, and with the demand that's in the market today, and the supply shock that's going on, and all the whales and the institutions sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy it, this has to deflect the other way in a major way.
Absolutely. And the MVRV score also is a chart showing, it's a ratio showing how much the market is not in profit, but
the market value versus the realized value.
Yeah.
We talk about the market cap versus realized cap, combining those two and putting it in the support.
Why is it actually these two spikes over the red?
That's the end times. Game's over.
Okay, so I've just shown you the indicators that I feel like are accessible and easy to read for anybody just try to time it up. Now it just gives you some data from 4 previous stops. I will show you for each top, I would say global data. Then I will show you very fast the whole frame, like all the data we can pick from all the indicators at those dates. And then I will show you the patterns and what should be the averages number we should be looking for to predict the top. So in all the charts I will show you from now, you will always see a red arrow, which is the top, the dot arrow in red, which is the last 20% in the price from the top, and the blue ones are when we are in the blue part in the nuple. So as I told you, the data I pick are in this frame, this window. So all the data I will give you and show you later are on these dates on the top, going out of the blue Nupal and out of the 20% from the top. That's the window that we try to time. So that's the 2013 stop from Bitcoin. Here you can see that we had 23 days in the blue Nupal and only 11 days in the 20% from the top. What you will see in the next chart also is that very often we have on average 10 days from when we enter in the Nupal and when we reach the 20% from the top. And what you can see mostly, which is very important, and what you said, is that when you enter in the blue Nupal, you're like at $360 while you peak at $1,100. So you have to be patient. Once you see that blue Nupal for Bitcoin or Ethereum, depending which one you are looking to resell, you have to be patient and just control your emission for at least 5 days, 10 days if you can wait before to resell, and look to other indicators to show you that we are reaching a top. And so also, what I told you that I like to look also is the percent supply and profit, because as I told you, of course, only when we reach 1%, 100% means we are reaching a top. But there is one little trick that we can look for in the percent supply and profit, is that once you are entering in the blue Nupal, you will at least pass 99.90%. And once you reach that level, before every top, there is a 4% decline just before the top.
So how many percent fall?
4. You enter in the blue zone, the blue Nupal. You reach the maximum that you have seen until now in the percent supply and profit. And if after that 99.90 at least, you see a 4% correction, that means we are about to see the top, we just saw the top, or it's over, it's time to sell. From what we saw previously. I will show you this in the other chart also.
And don't try to call 99% of the top. That's not what he's saying. He's saying something completely different. This indicator shows 99.
Yes.
99, that's different. If you're trying to call 99% of the top, you're part of the 99% who don't make money.
There's just this one. I will show you this one in 2 hours after, that just make you understand that the top may be passed just in the last days.
But did you see the top was passed yesterday?
Not yet. That's another top, so that's it. Sorry, I missed one. Okay, that was 113. Come on, voilà, 17. So 17, kind of the same ratios. So that's just Bitcoin stop, but from this chart, I also took the data of Ethereum in the dates when Bitcoin was entering in the blue Nupal and in the last 20%, just to try to understand what are the ratios. Because we said that Ethereum tops 1 month after Bitcoin, what should be the ratios of the price and the indicators of Ethereum while Bitcoin is topping. Again, here you see when we enter in the Nupal, we are at 14,000, while we top at 20K. So we still have a big room to grow. Most of the times and indicators are in the same window. And as I just showed you before, so very near to a top, just previously to a top, we enter in the blue Nupal, we reach 99.98%. There is a 4% decline. And this shows that the top is very near, and that's time to get out of the market. Ethereum's 2018 stop, so that was in January. We had a very long period in the blue Nupal. I guess it's because the market cap was lower and we had it was a young coin.
And here's a bit of a broader indicator. You see the smart money taking profits?
Profit taken, profit taken, profit taken. This is how smart money takes profits, because they don't want to dump that price. So you will see this activity. You will see. Sure, you're trying to call the top, so you're wading through this. But as soon as you start to see this behavior, where we're in the peak profit range and there's constantly profit being drained off, somebody's basically taking everyone's money. So once you start to see that process, go into that mode of taking on.
Again, here in the percent of the supply and profit. So from far, it looks like it's not easy to read, but once you are on the chart and you are moving your mouse, you see the data is more clear, and you can understand that this is growing. And once you reach a 99.90 plus number, and you have a correction of 4%, this didn't happen here, you know that you are at the top. And like here is like one day from the top. And trust me, when you look at the chart, you move your mouse, you will see clearly the difference of data from here to here. Because it's just in the.
But wait. But when the data is coming in, it will look like 99.9%.
Yeah, but
because
it's
that
above.
top constantly keeps moving. So if it goes up and it comes down, that becomes the top. Next time it gets close, it's going to show 99%, 99.9%, but it's going to push past. It's going to create a new peak, which will become the 100. So when it's happening live, take this all with a grain of salt, because it's easy to, in hindsight, we can always say this, but don't set yourself on like my strategy is I'm waiting for the 99%.
No, what I'm saying is that again we are inside the blue window. Okay, we are in that period when the Nupal is blue.
So first you check this.
Yeah, first
you made sure Nupal was blue, and then you even started looking.
Absolutely. Then I use this because the only other indicators I have in time is on average the time we had between the beginning of the Nupal and the I would say the top or the beginning of the 20% from the top. So I will show you later. I have the average numbers, but that's not easy to just rely on one indicator to try to time the top. So this is another indicator that can help you to try to time the top in this window if you want to really be precise. And so from here, what you see is like it's between 99.90 to 100. So there's just like 0.1% where there is fluctuation in the last part. And that's this that you see evolve in the last days. And you know that once you reach a point above the 99.90 for some days, and if you see a decline of 4%, it's what we saw in the last tops, you know that the top is here or it just passed. Again, you will have this so you can read it with more time to understand.
Imagine you have Ethereum and Bitcoin clearly showed a top a month ahead of time. Mm-hmm. The top of Ethereum is coming. The top of all the altcoins is coming, right? So your picture should be even beyond just the charts themselves. You should already have an idea that it's something that it's already happened to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's given a month of data to show that it's some kind of a blow off top. All of this is already repeated. Now it's about a month later, so it's close. Now we're going to the 99.7% or 99.9%, and then it's dropping from. So all of these are each indicators on themselves. So you're getting a big score, right?
Yeah, there is at least 5 indicators that you should follow to try to stand the top. I will show you later. And 2021 stop for Ethereum, same story. Okay, so I will not detail this. It's just to show you what the data looks like when you pick all the data. Voilà. And this is what I will try to summarize for you. But that's when you take those 4 tops, you pick all the data of 10 or 12 indicators. So in the Nupal window, the blue part of the Nupal, and 20% from the top, this is what you have. And there are some indicators that you don't have for Ethereum. They are just here for Bitcoins, for example, those ones, as you can see. So we can just cross data, make averages, and figure out what's the average numbers for each indicators at the beginning of that window. So I will not detail the number, but once you have this document and you can look for it in details, that's just the numbers on average that we saw in the last stops. So in blue, it's the numbers in each ratios that we saw at the entrance of that blue Nupal. In red, it's the same indicators, which numbers they were showing on average at the beginning of the 20% from the top, and same thing for the end. And here is also the data that you had at the top on average. So what you can do, first of all, is just think about timing. So when you look at this blue part in the Nupal, on average, according to the past 4 tops, it lasted 24 days. In these 24 days, on average, the top was happening only after 18 days. And after the top passed, the decline was much faster, so 3 times faster. You had only 6 days to come out of this Nupal blue indicator. Talking about the 20% from the top. So on average, once you see the Nupal showing the blue grid part, you have 10 days before you reach the 20% from the top. And then the window, it's only 9 to 10 days to stay in the last 20% of the market. So a wise strategy would be to start to sell, in my opinion, when the Nupal is pointing blue after maybe 5 days, I would say, just because it could be shorter and quicker, as we've seen before. Then if you are with a more risky strategy, you could try to wait 10 days after the Nupal becomes blue, and then you will sell, let's say, daily 10% of your portfolio. One thing you can use, and that I will show you just after, is that it will be easier to understand that the top is past and we are declining and it's time to sell everything than it will be to time the top on the way up. So this is what I told you about before. If in this indicator, the percent of supply in profit, you reached 99.97 actually in the indicators, and then you see a 4% decline, it means that you are just before the top, just before 1 day, and 1 day after. So that's what we could see in some of the patterns. Then to also try to understand that the top is just past, you have another indicator you can use. So it's the reserve risk and also the MVRV score. So in the reserve risk, what we saw, we only have it for Bitcoin, but what we saw in the last 2 tops of Bitcoin, we just saw a low in the indicator of at least 30% right after the top. And you don't have, you see on the way up, you don't have those 30% correction when you are reaching the top. But when you see that big decline of at least 30% in this indicator.
Big decline? Which one is that one?
Previously, it showed that the top just passed. For the MVRV score, same story. But here, you are waiting for a 50% decline. So on the way up, you see declines which are 30% maximum. But once you pass the top, you see a major declines in a 5 days window that shows you that the top just passed. Same here. That's 2 indicators that can show you that the top just passed.
And this indicator we call live, this red ball.
Yeah, so in Glassnode,
You see in retrospect later.
No. A lot of these zones do move.
Yeah.
These zones will move. So
you can check every day where.
Yes, depending on the subscription you have. If you have the $50 monthly, you will see 24 hours later. And if you have the 700 monthly, you will see it real time.
Got a bit of a stupid question.
don't ask it. Next. Sorry, continue, please.
Okay, so I'm fairly new, so correct me if I'm wrong for all you age people. So what I'm hearing around is take the profits. Right? And this might be a question for viewers because this might seem really stupid before I even say it, but so my portfolio is quite in profit at the moment. What I'm struggling with is I don't know how to take profits.
Strategy.
Does that make sense? So I've got Ethereum, Bitcoin, Luna, some I want to hold on to. So what am I shaving off, selling off little bits of Ethereum? I know it sounds stupid, but I don't know how to take profits because I still want my bag, my long-term holding. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You create a plan that is according to who you are as an investor and how risky you like playing it and what that money means to you and how much money it actually is.
and then you execute it according to whatever you like. He said he's a higher risk investor. He's been here since before when we were playing with Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
So like he is going to plan it out. So he right around the 80% mark is where he's going to start to take profit.
Right.
Me, I'm probably going to start around the 50% mark and all the way up to the 80, 90, 100, and then back down to 80, 90, whatever. Right? So you got to have a plan laid out that according to your actual needs.
To sort of sell bits of each of your tokens, because I've got about
Yep.
10 in my portfolio.
Yeah.
And you just take little bits, put it in the stable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to come up with a plan of how you're going to tier that out, when you're going to start, and when that process is going to
Because
finish.
I've got my strategy of when my portfolio hits a certain percentage,
Yep.
I want to take 25%, but it's knowing what to sell. Ethereum, Bitcoin,
Oh. So you can.
Do you know what I mean? It's a bit greed driven, but
You could take percentages of each coin and sell them. Some people, what they do is they run a calculation on how much total profit is there,
yeah.
how much am I withdrawing, how much total profit is in there, and then how much profit is being made in the coin. When you run that calculation, it'll tell you which one of your coins is making you the most amount of profit. Then you take a bigger chunk from that coin, right? So I'll show you the calculation.
Yeah,
there.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
No, that was a great question.
Actually, what I would do is that I would just try to read the charts that we have for Bitcoin and we have for Ethereum. For 4 of them, we have the same, and including the Nupal. So you could just see the top of Bitcoin happening while Ethereum will not show it's reaching a top because we are still not yet in the last part of the Nupal, the blue part. So you could focus on time Bitcoin stop and then watch very closely what Ethereum is doing. And also, if this time it plays out the same way, you will have kind of 1 month after Bitcoin tops to figure out it was a top and understand that now you have the altcoin top. So just to make it simple, consider that all the alts time a top at the same time as Ethereum. There is some days of difference, but just to make it simple, you can go like this. So that's one strategy. Just to recap, the on-chain analytics, what it helps you to do is to try to time the top with more precision. But it's pretty risky to try to be in this last 20% part. But in my opinion, we will see anyway that blue Nupal happen. So if you're just scared of missing out, you could start to sell when that blue Nupal appears. Then if you want to be more risky, you can just try to time those numbers because they are averages from the last 4 tops and just watch on the indicators. If we reach those numbers, at least 4 out of 5 out of 6, and then you could consider, okay, considering what happened in the past, now we could be 20% from the top, and from today I will sell 10% daily until I have sold what I want, like 80% of my portfolio.
You would sell 80% of your portfolio.
Personally, what I would do is that I would keep 20 to 25, just for long-term holding. In case we see kind of a super cycle, I don't manage to rebuy at the right moment because the cycle and the shape of the market is changed. But my goal personally is to sell 70%, 75% of what I own as close as possible from the top. I'm targeting the last 30%. And my main goal is just try to at least triple my tokens. So I want to sell all my tokens, 75 of my tokens at the top, and I want to rebuy as much Ethereum and Bitcoin as I can in the next dip that I will watch from the data in all the green zones that you saw in the indicators. Normally, we should reach those zones where we know it's time to reload.
And he said, I want to triple my tokens, not my worthless dollars, pounds, currencies. Those are all bullshit.
When you sell your Bitcoin, are you going to sell it your altcoins to take another month of altcoins, or when you're saying you're selling Bitcoin, you're selling everything? Or you...
That's a strategy, but I don't own Bitcoin.
You want to?
I don't have Bitcoins.
Yeah, I don't either.
So
also, your strategy is basically on the coins, not Bitcoin.
Because
well, think about it. Like Bitcoin is an indicator on its own. Let somebody else be on the Bitcoin ship. Let them make their 5, 6, 7x, whatever they're gonna make. And you can just sit on the altcoin ship and watch their ship sink.
But
that's an indicator.
But isn't it like the months lagging from Bitcoin
So-
to altcoins.
Sure, you can call that.
Yeah, but maybe not this time. That's why it's very important to look also at the chart of Ethereum against the chart of Bitcoin, because maybe you will see, like we saw this this summer, the Ethereum chart showing the Nupal going into the blue part, while Bitcoin doesn't touch it. So you could also have this time Ethereum topping before Bitcoin. So that's why it's important to watch them one after the other. But if we play out the same way, what is great is that if you own a little bit of Bitcoin or none, you will probably see the Bitcoin top before, and you will see this on the on-chain charts. And then it gives you time to focus on timing Ethereum's top, because the chart didn't show yet the top.
And we're, by Ethereum, we're also saying altcoins. Like, there's, you know, all your other coins, they're not going to top of those
Yes.
for sure.
Uh,
Not really likely. Nothing's like for sure. But
The charts that you showed, there was something, with the top in November, and another chart was the top in March. Is that in the past? So now you just don't look at the November or the March, you're just looking at the
So both, actually, as I started with the time analysis, because there are, in my opinion, there are windows in which it makes sense that we top, depending on the ratios of what we had in the past. Like if we target the end of this cycle, that should be the end of September. But if we look at other indicators, big informations like ETH 2.0 coming out in March, knowing that there is only 11% of the supply that is available right now, it could be possible that Ethereum holds its value until ETH 2.0 come out and everybody wants to dump their Ethereum because it's like 30,000 USD per token. So there is windows in time, and so in this windows of time, if I see the Nupal reaching the blue part, I know that, okay, we are reaching a top. Now I'm fully focused, laser focused on my crypto portfolio, and I just want to time the top. And I will use this tool.
The timeline is November to March.
So I think, personally, what I think is that if we don't see a top between late September till late October, that should be in Q1 2022, but that's just my opinion, depending on everything I hear around. I will trust, that's why I'm saying that this is just guess, and I don't want to go like this. I will just watch the data.
if I was a whale and I wanted to manipulate you guys really well, I would know that you're expecting a top at the end of September, you're expecting a top end of the year, and almost none of you are expecting a top somewhere around March, right? So what I would do is, I would drive the prices up in a quick way, get everybody FOMO like it's happening now. I would take it into September. Between September and October, I would dump the prices. So those of you that think this is the end, who aren't looking at the data, will quickly get rid of your positions. If you make it through that dip, then I would drive the prices up again until the end of the year, and I would dump it again to confirm your theory of the end being met. Because the goal is to shake supply from you and give it to the wealthy, give it to the whales. There isn't supply, there literally is no supply left. So the trick that I would play on you is, well, you think there's an end here? And then you'd be like, oh, I'm this up. And then that wouldn't be the end. And then
Shake out the coins, yeah.
shake out the coin. And then by the time you get through a couple of those dips, if you get through that one and maybe you get through the year-end one, then you're gonna be like, I'm a pro. Any dip is not the end. And then everybody's gonna be like, no, this can't be the end. It's gonna keep this party's gonna keep going forever. And that's the moment I would make you.
Yeah, so when you go look back in time, September, the month of December, you just said September, at the end of this month, you're expecting some kind of a high, a local high, right?
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. That's a smart thing to do, but I don't know what to do.
If you look at it, historically, September is always the lowest month of the year.
Yeah, but we are talking, it's not like 4 years exactly, it's the number of days. I will show you again the ratio.
Full ratio.
Yeah, it's this ratio. This ratio showing that we had almost exactly the same number of days between the bottom and the halving and from the halving to the top. So that puts us this time in 27th of September. That's just according to this ratio.
There's one theory saying if we just look at the halving and the distance from the halving, that's what happens.
Because
if data shows this, doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I didn't.
Hearing these two things, that September is traditionally the lowest month of the year.
Yes, you're right.
And then a lot of talk about the next one coming up. So is this, what time is this?
You know as much as I do.
So that's why we use
That's why we're
on-chain.
watching the data.
Yeah, as I said, all these time ratios and price predictions is just guessing. Why we consider that this ratio is still valid is because there is a halving every 4 years that creates a supply shock in Bitcoin, and generally it's just the start of a bull run.
Yeah,
But we don't know when it ends.
and this ratio has an N of 2. So it has 2 pieces of data that you're extrapolating a third piece of data from. That's not a very good way to extrapolate things. Because the third one could be different, and then there's nothing proven from this. So is there going to be a top in September? No. No.
There's not.
Like fundamentally and mathematically and just psychologically and macroeconomically, no, there isn't going to be a top at the end of September. There's probably going to be some black swan event that they use to try to scare you into thinking that it's a top. There's a lot of other things going on in the rest of the world that need to be completed in order for that money to flow into crypto to create the actual final top. And you're going to get to the point of whale watching?
No, what I want to say is that because it's impossible to guess and there could be a black swan event anytime, in my opinion, the only data we can rely on is just the one I've shown you. Because if you just want to be in peace, you will say, anyway, I will sell when I see a top in the data and not before. And this is how we managed to hodl in spring and to not check out and sell our cryptos, because according to the data, we knew that it was not a top. So there's no reason to just dump your cryptos. And so there could be a black swan. Let's say that the data are showing that we are increasing, the NUPL goes in the green side, but doesn't go into the blue side. And there's a black swan event, like USDT got banned. The market is shake out, everything falls down, but we didn't reach the level we were expecting to resell. So because anyway, you cannot predict those things, the only thing that can make you in peace is just to follow the data and to resell when you see that these NUPL and other indicators are reaching the red zone.
And this is just how the game is played. The game is played by convincing you that it's the end and selling too early, or convincing you that it's not the end and you hold it while I sell it to you. And that is the end.
Yeah.
That's the end. The day it'll be the end is when everybody tells you that's not the end.
Right, so we're done.
No, because
It's not the end, and when it is the end, then it's not the end. So
no, with this you're fine because
the data doesn't lie.
Yeah, the data, everything is just based on the.
It's not the end or in the end. It's just telling you there's like too many different indicators, but you put them together into a cohesive story and you follow along with them, and then you see what's going on in the macroeconomic situation, and you see what's going on in the world that we live in.
Basically, what all the data show you is just they translate the psychology of the market. So we are just relying on those charts thanks to data. And so you'll not be fucked because you will be able to understand that we are in the greed part and that the media are saying Bitcoin to 1 million and that just will crash because it's the ways we pay the media to make them say these things. So
it's not just guesswork, because you're going on these charts, you're going on previous data, you're going on human psychology, history repeats itself. So it's not solely guesswork.
No, and this data is being pulled off of the blockchain. It can be manipulated a bit, but there's so many different angles, and this is just a sliver of what you can actually look at. When you look at a cohesive picture of the data that's being pulled off, combine that with the macroeconomic, with the psychology, with what's going on in the traditional markets, those things don't lie. When it's hundreds of
guesswork.
Yeah, and when
Actually,
hundreds of trillions of dollars need to flow somewhere, you can spot it.
We don't want to do any guessing, not anymore. As you can see, it's impossible, and we always have a lot of regrets that we missed to take some profit at the top, anything. So today, the news is just made to shake you out of your position. So if you follow the news, at some point you will get tricked and your emotion will take the lead. The only way you can just make sure you're doing the right thing is to follow those data. That's it.
We'll speak to you every day.
I will, of course I'll do it for myself. So I will post in real time what I'm seeing and if I can help you. Okay. I mean, I'm not an expert. I just learned this in the last month. I will not be able to give you something that will be 100% the right thing to do. But I will share with you what I'm seeing according to what we saw in the past tops, so that could help you to think about your strategy and try to raise it.
Your experience is instrumental, having been in this space for many years and having gone through long terms.
Actually, in 2018, so I would say luckily, I managed to buy at the very bottom Bitcoin, VeChain, Cardano. because I was 24/7 on the news, on the YouTube channels, trying to figure out where we are. But I was just guessing. But this is not something we can rely on. Right now, I don't want to do this work anymore. Now I want to use tools that are made for us to be able to have accurate data on this. And I think also, personally, what's stressing me the most in crypto is the regrets. When I take a position, I don't want any regrets. And I know that if I rely on this, I know that I could have not done better anyway, because that's the best tool we have today to time the top. So if I sell that it shows me a top, but it's still 2-3x after that, I would think, okay, anyway, I've done the best I could.
Or I've made a shit ton of money. And I'm
Also,
good. I'm not a greedy motherfucker. I could have made 2-3x more and I could have lost all of it. So that's great. Yes.
that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. So we'll so now you've seen an analysis of the data, and I can tell all of you love data. Data is like your favorite thing to look at, and numbers and charts. And when you put up all those numbers, I bet you were just drooling at like spending your daytime looking at those things, right? So the point of all the data is like you got to interpret it. You got to interpret it, and you got to build a story from it, and then you got to execute your strategy around that story. Most people don't have the time or the mind or they're not wasting their entire life on crypto, because you guys actually have lives. Congratulations. That's why what we're doing is we're bringing together resources to, number one, get these subscriptions that are like 10 grand, and we have another one that's 1,500, and basically spending community money to bring it all together. Then Quentin will be giving you his analysis from time to time. I'm going to be doing twice a week analysis of this data, plus way more data that we have coming off the on-chain, and then distilling it down to English in 30-minute videos that you'll be able to join. It will be paid. It will not be for free. But it will save you so much time and get you access to premium things. And if you've done a strategy, there's pieces in those strategies where you can time those strategies according to these things, right? So you will have access to these things distilled in a way that you'll be able to make some decisions on your own. If you choose to be riskier or you choose to be safer, that's all up to you, but have a plan. Now you've understood this, right? You've seen, go back and watch the recordings if you want, but have a plan as to how you're planning on kind of participating in this market. Now, disclaimer, all of this could not happen like this. If I'm smart money, I would make it not happen like this, because I know you're looking at this. I know you're expecting this blow off top and the things, but that we didn't have trillions of dollars of money flowing in from institutions during those times. This time we have different dynamics. So it could be different, but things like the new poll, things like these pieces of data that are they're very fundamental in the way that they function. Even if something happens differently and you're executing it, let's say, it goes up and then you take some profit and then it comes back down like it did now, and then it goes back up again and you can participate again, unless you at least took the profit. So please take everything with a grain of salt, do your own research, learn about this stuff on your own, and incorporate this as a piece into that bigger picture of how you understand the world. But overall, you saw the chart pattern. The data said crypto is here to take over the fucking world, and we're the people who are going to help it happen. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.